Had to go live on my phone. Oh my God. I hope my last video ain't as choppy as it was. All right, so now we on Trump versus Venezuela. He been blowing up them ships with drugs leaving Venezuela. And if you can see that last video I did with Trump, Trinidad and the mafia was working together in Las Vegas and got busted by the feds. Wow, is all I could say from watching that last video. I hope it's not he been blowing them up. U.S. officials say the table is being set for possible military action against Venezuela. Maduro know his time is up. The world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald Ford, will arrive in northern Caribbean on Sunday as tensions with Venezuela grow, according to the U.S. military official. The carrier will join 15,000 service members, including 2,000 Marines, abroad on an amphibious assault ship. The official, who is not authorized to speak publicly, told NPR the table is being set for possible military action. Administration officials are continuing to hold high-level meetings with members of Congress and foreign leaders amid ongoing military exercises. It remains unclear, however, if President Trump will use military force against Venezuela. The U.S. has conducted 20 strikes on boats in the region so far, saying they were fearing drug trafficking from the country. In August, the U.S. government set a $50 million reward for the arrest of Maduro. But officials told NPR that the arrival of the USS Gerald Ford, which was pulled from the Mediterranean Sea, could be just another pressure tactic on Maduro, who has put his own forces on high alert. Y'all ain't gonna win. Y'all can't beat us. Too small of a country. On Friday, Trump told reporters aboard Air Force One, I sort of made up my mind about whether to launch an attack on Venezuela. I can't tell you what it is, but we made a lot of progress with Venezuela in terms of stopping drugs from pouring in. Hey, Rimble. Hey, how you doing? Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced Thursday on social media that a mission was underway called Operation Southern Spear. This mission defends our homeland, removes narco terrorists from our hemisphere, and secures our homeland from the drugs that are killing our people. He been blowing them ships out the water. The Western Hemisphere. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. The Western Hemisphere is America's neighborhood, and we will protect it. The increased activity comes from after a high-profile resignation last month, a U.S. four-star admiral, Alvin Hosley, who had been overseeing the boat strikes. He abruptly left his post 2 years early. Pentagon sources told NPR they believe it was because he objected to the assaults on alleged drug boats, which has so far killed eight. I thought it was 8, but it's 80 people that's been unalive, and struck boats that did not appear to be showing any immediate hostile intent. Trump been blowing them boats up out the water. Oh, shoot, this is the Wall Street Journal. I'm not paying to read that. Hold on, let me see. Okay, I just read that. Trump is likely to face long military commitment and chaos if he osts Maduro. He rigged the election and everything. He is awful to his people. That's why they all over here. Trump likely to face long military commitment and chaos if he osts Maduro in Venezuela. Well, the Venezuelan people will be happy to get rid of his ass. President Donald Trump has said he believes Venezuelan Nicolas Maduro days are numbered and that land strikes inside Venezuela are possible. Experts say that the U.S. doesn't currently have the military assets in place to launch a large scale operation to remove Maduro from power, though Trump has approved covert actions within Venezuela. I don't know. Experts say that the U.S. doesn't currently have the. Oh, I already said that. But if Trump did order strikes inside Venezuela aimed at Austin Maduro, he could face serious challenges with fractured opposition elements and a military pose for insurgency, according to experts, as well as political backlash at home for a president who promised to avoid costly entanglements overseas. Hey, Billy. CNN reported that Trump received a briefing earlier this week to review updated options on how to deal with Venezuela. CNN reported, though, the U.S. military has moved more than a dozen warships and 15,000 troops into the region as part of what the Pentagon branded Operation Southern Spear. Mm. The concentration of military assets and threats of further attacks beyond the ongoing drug boat campaign have served to increase pressure on Maduro, with administration officials saying he needs to leave office. They're going to put him out of power, which he need to go, while arguing that he's closely tied to Trinidad gang and leading drug trafficking efforts. But if Maduro does flee Venezuela or is killed out of a targeted strike, experts worry about a military takeover of the country or the boosting of another dictator like Maduro. There are other members of Venezuelan Chavismo, the leftist, the former Cuban leader Hugo Chavez, that Maduro has championed, who could take the reins and subject the country to even more harsher rule. Maduro has something to the effort. You want to get rid of me? You think things will get better? It is something to consider because Maduro is a moderate and someone else could usurp power instead of the opposition with the backing of the military. If the military is still coercive, and I don't think we see any evidence of that, they will not collapse because there's a challenge or to Austin Maduro, said John Bolton. John Bolton, your ass under federal investigation. Who cares what you think? They will follow their discipline, assert military control, and suppress anyone who works in the streets. Hey, Billy. Maduro, whose inner circle is made up of both civilians and military officers who are often in competition with each other, is known to have a tight control over his administration and has helped stabilize competing factions. Were Maduro to disappear, these pulls could tear the nation apart, leading to a civil war. Whether you like it or not, Maduro is um, the couture of equilibrium, said a Western diplomat who has spent years in Venezuela. The Trump administration may hope that Venezuelan opposition figures will be able to step into power vacuum created by the removal of Maduro. Mm. Yeah, well, they about to get him out of office. He might as well just give up voluntarily. You can't beat our forces. And then maybe these people go home. For real. All right, let's get to it. Let's get to it. Oh, this just
striking a defiant tone, telling the world, and in particular the United States, that his country does not accept supremacism amid a military standoff. His comments come as the US sends warships, attack aircraft, and Marines to waters near the South American nation. The US says the naval deployment is in an effort to counter drug trafficking. The Trump administration considers President Maduro one of the world's largest narco traffickers. Just take a listen to this.
Maduro's reign of terror continues. He is one of the largest narco traffickers in the world and a threat to our national security. Therefore, we've doubled his reward to $50 million. Under President Trump.
wow, $50 million for his head. Now, who ain't trying to get, well, he's still in power, but they paying $50 million for his head. Wow.
Leadership, Maduro will not escape justice and he will be held accountable for his despicable crimes.
Well, President Maduro denies any involvement in drug trafficking. He's urging citizens, meanwhile, to sign up for militias to counter a potential U.S. attack, and says his military is deploying more naval units. Here's what Venezuela's vice president said earlier. Have a listen to this.
There is an attempt to put Venezuela in a state of psychological distress and anxiety, and that has an economic purpose, as you know, which is to generate uncertainty in the economy.
Well, I spoke with Enrique Capriles, a leading Venezuelan opposition politician. I started by asking him how he sees tensions between the U.S. and the Venezuelan government playing out.
Yo no estoy de acuerdo con la guerra. Creo que no hay ninguna guerra buena. Creo que en el mundo hay muchos conflictos y lo que menos necesitamos es un conflicto armado en Venezuela.
He said the last thing they need is armed conflict in Venezuela. When the popular sovereignty is not respected, the political crisis deepens. But I believe that we have a way for a solution. Get Maduro out of power, that's that part. But to insist on mediation between the two countries. It is a tense situation between the United States and Maduro government. He said Trump and Maduro should meet face to face. And try to bring peace. I believe it's time for peace. Face-to-face negotiation process.
I wonder then what you make of the motivations here. Maria Corina Machado, the opposition leader, called it the right approach from the United States. You're clearly not going as far. You're calling for more face-to-face diplomatic approach here. But what is the reasoning then from the United States? Because the administration says it's to fight drug trafficking. Do you believe that? Because, Washington's also doubled the reward for the capture of Maduro from 25 million to 50 million. So what are the motivations here behind this military mobilization?
Bueno, la verdad que es confuso.
What is he saying? This is a large contradiction. A few months ago, there was an envoy who met directly with Maduro at the presidential palace, Richard Grenell. He came here and he seemed to prevail in that meeting, and there was a spirit of cordiality and dialogue. I cannot agree with the idea that a military intervention would mean stability or the democratic for Venezuela. He said Trump goes and talks with Putin and China, but no democracy for Venezuela.
Let me just interrupt you there. But Enrique, let me just interrupt you there. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but do you think that this is about regime change, or do you believe the United States when it says is going after narco trafficking? I mean, it's accused Maduro of turning Venezuela into a narco state. Is Maduro a narco lord?
That's a good question. He said that's a very serious accusation. The United States needs to show the evidence. We Venezuelans are not part of a cartel. I don't have any information on that. Like you gonna say if it's true or not. You're the vice president. Anyway, you're gonna blow your little country to smithereens at the same time.
Government and the United States amid the arrival of 2 U.S. warships sent to Venezuelan coasts.
Uh-oh.
It's been reported that the military ships are expected on Thursday morning, part of a larger campaign announced by the Trump administration to tackle drug trafficking in the Caribbean. This comes as the U.S. is accusing Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro of running the drug cartel known as Cartel de los Soles. The White House has even increased a reward on Maduro to $50 million for information leading to his capture.
President Trump has been very clear and consistent. He's prepared to use every element of American power to stop drugs from flooding into our country and to bring those responsible to justice. The Maduro regime is not the legitimate government of Venezuela. It is a narco-terror cartel. In Maduro, it is the view of this administration, is not a legitimate president.
Venezuelan officials have responded strongly, saying the U.S. is threatening stability in the region.
This week, I'm going to activate a special plan to guarantee the safety with more than 4.5 million militiamen prepared, activated, and armed throughout the entire national territory.
Colombian leftist President Gustavo Petro commented on the pressure Trump is putting on Maduro.
The Americans are in trouble if they think invading Venezuela will solve their problem. That would drag Venezuela into a situation like Syria, only with the added problem that they would be pulling Colombia into it too.
Other government officials, such as the Minister of Defense, General Vladimir Padrino, have said the accusations are part of a false narrative created by the Trump administration.
So essentially what you're dealing with and what you're seeing right now
This is Anton Daniels.
Venezuela, Maduro is not even recognized by the United States of America as a rightful president of Venezuela.
Fact.
And let me tell you what that is. This presidential election within Venezuela, this actually happened during the Biden administration, right? So when Biden was president, Venezuela actually had their elections. The Biden administration never acknowledged, nor did the people in Venezuela. They said that he stole the election.
They did.
All right?
They
said that he stole the election.
They did say he stole the election. I gotta take my insulin. I'm gonna let that play. Oh, wait a minute. My leg.
2024.
Oh. Hold on, I gotta get some.
Venezuela elections. Candidates call to vote with respect to vote.
But Nicolas Maduro's opponents see him as a dictator who's ruled with an iron fist. The 61-year-old was catapulted to power after being handpicked by Hugo Chavez. Riding on the coattails of his revolutionary mentor, Maduro narrowly won the presidency for the first time in 2013. A baseball fan who often salsas for the cameras, he's known for fending off one crisis after another. Despite sitting on the world's largest oil reserves, Venezuelans struggle with hyperinflation and critical shortages of basic goods. Political and economic ties with states including China, Russia and Iran have helped the country stay barely afloat. Maduro faced down sanctions after his re-election in 2018 wasn't recognized. Just like Chavez, Maduro has attempted to deflect blame for Venezuela's long list of troubles. He claimed victory in last July's presidential election, but the opposition accused Maduro of stealing the vote.
He did steal the vote.
Countries recognized his win. The EU and the US said opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez was the real winner, provoking responses like these from Maduro.
I denounce the US government, which, along with Elon Musk and the international fascist Javier Milei, are leading attempts to destabilize
Hey, Money Low, I love you.
and carry out a coup against Venezuelan democracy.
So a lot of what they were saying was they were basically saying that this guy stole the election. That a lot of
And he did steal the election. Yes, he did.
He was trying to be Putin of Venezuela, and he was trying to have absolute power and control. And part of that is because he is trying to continuously control the drug cartels and the drug running, and actually filling different states or different countries with drugs like the United States of America.
Now to some other big headlines. Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro has...
Yeah, well, Trump gonna blow Venezuela, get them together, and maybe they people go back home. That part.
On Venezuela, you've said F-35s out of Puerto Rico. You've said naval vessels in the Caribbean. You're concerned about drugs being illegally sent into the...
Yeah.
How do you describe this build-up, this situation?
Well, I just think it's
I
true.
agree
We're
with you,
strong on drugs.
Laura.
We don't want drugs killing our people. I believe we lost 300,000. You know, they always say 95, 100,000. I believe they've been saying that for 20 years. I believe we lost 300,000 people last year. I know families that lost their son. Those families will never be the same. I know a family lost a daughter, a beautiful daughter. In fact, it was like she took something that she thought was like a minor deal, and it turned out to be riddled out with fentanyl, the size of the head of a pin, and you're dead. And no, we're stopping the drugs. We're going to save a lot of people. Look, whether it's 100,000, but it's not. It's 350,000 people died last year from drugs. And we're not going to let that happen to this country. Think of that. Think if you're in a war and you lose 300,000. We'll lose 600,000 in the, pretty much between Gettysburg and all of that, the Civil War, we lost, 600,000. So we're losing half of that every year to drugs. We're not going to do it. We're not going to allow it to happen. You think of the wars. If we lost 600,000 people in a war, but we lose that every 2 years, more than that. So it's 300 to 350,000 people. And when I see boats coming in, like loaded up the other day with all sorts of drugs, probably fentanyl mostly, but all sorts of drugs, we're going to take them out. And if people want to have fun going on the high seas or the low seas, they're going to be in trouble. I will tell you, boat traffic is substantially down in the area that happened. And they called it the runway. It's a runway to...
I'm sure it is down. You done blew them about the water. I'm sure it is down. Yes, I believe that.
It's a runway to the United States. And boat traffic is very substantially down on the runway. You can imagine why. I think anybody that saw that is going to say, I'll take a pass. I don't even know about fishermen. They may say, I'm not getting on the boat.
What happens
I'm not
to-
going to take a chance.
What happens if Venezuela flies jets over U.S. naval vessels again?
Well, I would say they're going to be in trouble. We'll let them know about that. We heard that happen, but it wasn't really over, not like they described. But I would say, General, if they do that, you have a choice of doing anything you want, okay? If they fly.
Ooh. He said if they do that, because if they fly within our airspace, he pretty much telling heck self, do whatever you want. That means they gonna get blowed up, it seemed like to me. Which
Position, I would say that you can, you or your captains can make the decision as to what they want to do. All right? Sure.
Sir, we have one more. You said they didn't go over.
Say it.
How close did they get? You said the planes didn't.
Well, I don't want to talk about that, but if they do put us in a dangerous position, they'll be shut down. Thank you very much, everybody. So we're going to now...
point blank period, if they do put us in that position, they gonna be shot down. All right, Trump, do your thing. Wow. He's gonna be forced to step down. Now I'm gonna show you how the bad Venezuelan people here, because I'm like, get the fuck out. Go home.
Ladies and gents, another one.
This is Vega Axis. I love him.
The strawberry has finally been deported. We're going to go over the details here today, but these reports have a lot of weight. All thanks to you for sharing all of the videos. We already have these two freaking out because they were exposed for abusing the system, for taking advantage of the American taxpayers. But there are many new reports coming, like this one, for example, this one, and Skinny Will, of course. That's another migrant dancing with the work permit. You see, everything is a joke to them. The whole system is laughable. The problem for them is we have a lot of evidence, tons of videos of them recording themselves committing a federal crime, or in some cases, admitting they did commit a federal crime. You see, we're not going after all of the border crossers. That would be impossible. We would have to go back in time, 10, 20, 30, 40 years back. But at least those, in a lot of cases, had decency and remained quiet. Unlike the children of communism, because they are the children of communism. And the end result was America receiving a ton of criminals and freeloaders with huge egos, by the way, which I still don't comprehend how they have such a big ego. When you're a border crosser, it doesn't even make sense. But they did it. So imagine how many more migrants these individuals influenced to come to America. And a huge number of them came to destroy this country. But we will not allow that. This is only the beginning. Let's get started.
I love his channel. He report they ass to ICE. I'm gonna go past this introduction.
It's another video of Angel and Abigail celebrating their upcoming bundle of joy, who received birthright citizenship. This one, ladies and gents, is Abigail providing all of us with more inspiring content. The Tampa Bay Crimes website tells us that she's from Chicago. I'm not sure why they can't say she is a Venezuelan migrant that lives in Chicago. Nevertheless, she was booked on December 24th, 2024. And her charges are as follows: child neglect with a $5,000 bond and resisting an officer with violence. Tampa Bay Crimes website tells us that Angel is from Chicago, even though we know he's a Venezuelan migrant who lives in Chicago. But he was booked on Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2024. He's 26 years old, and the charges are as follows: battery. Remember that apparently there was an altercation with his wife. Then he has carrying a concealed firearm, child neglect, possession of a firearm during commission of a felony, and aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer with a deadly weapon. The total bond was $7,500. Good job, Angel. So much coming from a guy who's nicknamed the Strawberry. I know you're wondering what happened to the wife. Well, first of all, after that, these two were released. Somehow they were released. But we filed that report very quickly and sent it to ICE officials. Eventually, he was detained by ICE, and he was very close to being sent to El Salvador. But hey, at least he's no longer in the US. When it comes to his wife, there are some unconfirmed reports that she fled the country. For now, she has almost completely disappeared from the TikTrash platform. But as soon as I get confirmation, I will let you know. Now, remember I told you, these individuals have a huge ego because they committed this crime of illegally crossing the border and taking advantage of the system. And then they go viral and they think they are
right, and they go viral and show every damn thing.
So you have,
and then you got these idiot protesters out there when ICE is doing their job, arresting some criminals. Just some people aren't criminals, and you don't know who they detaining, and you hitting ICE with all kind of shit that I never thought I'd see. That's still a government official. That still mean you gonna get time, idiot. These some idiots.
Where you had the Strawberry, this filthy criminal, making fun of one of the communist leaders in Venezuela, Venezuela's number 2. And that's when he was here, remember. He made various comments about the Venezuelan government. And here's a video of that.
Violado, maldito mamacueco, becerro, maldito espermatozoide desperdiciado, porque no hacen en este hijo mundo. Ojalá el doctor en vez de tener gato, pero metió el doctor.
Do he got on lipstick? Look like he got on lipstick, don't
he? No te gusta que te encante.
I know you didn't understand it. Trust me, I had a hard time as well. But he was basically calling him a maggot. Venezuela's number 2. A maggot, you know what a maggot is, right? And, a lot of disgusting insults about it.
Okay, we done with that one. But anyway, on his channel, he get the people deported. Is that the one that I just showed? Oh, yep. I want to delete that. Because we got another one.
Check this Venezuelan migrant. Don't let her fake contact lenses fool you. This is Katiuska, the migrant CEO. We're going to continue to expose her until ICE deports her because she's still in Queens, New York. Her business is still registered to that hotel room that you guys paid for.
Got a business at the hotel. You can't make this up.
Using that address. According to her, she opened what they call a free dining room, or I guess you can call it like a mini free restaurant for the Venezuelan people in Venezuela. And the reason why she's doing this is to get followers. Remember, no Americans would ever follow any of these idiots. So she is giving away money every now and then to the migrants here in the US, and food and other appliances to the people in Venezuela. And they go and follow her in huge numbers. I think she has over 500,000 subscribers, not subscribers, followers on TikTrash already. She's trying to grow her YouTube account too. I mean, this is her game. Use the taxpayers' money to fund her shelter, which it was funded for 2 years. And she left the shelter, probably because of our videos. She got kicked out. I don't know, but maybe. Her mother's still in the shelter, in the hotel with her 2 children. But she rented a small room, the migrant CEO rented a small room in Queens, New York. For 2 years, she abused the system.
Facts.
And went viral by telling people how to abuse the system and how much money she received from the government, her and her family. You remember that. And well, now that she's making money online, she's using that money to grow her account more, again, at your expense, because all of that money she's making, all of the money these migrants are making should be paid back to the taxpayers.
Facts.
But instead,
Facts.
she's sending it to Venezuela and sometimes other migrants here in the States, other border crossers. So go figure. Furthermore, while the migrant CEO is doing all of these donations, her mother recently got surgery. And guess who paid for it? You guys did. Now you have the migrant CEO showing off to her Venezuelan community. Remember, over there, these people voted for communism and now they're starving. So for them, she's like a multimillionaire. You know, she's rich. She could send them what? $20, $30. And for them, it's a lot of money. And so now you have the migrant CEO, the border crosser, the fake asylum seeker who's still in the country. She is sending money to Venezuela while the American taxpayers are funding her mom's health care and her family's hotel accommodations. That's what's happening right now. She's like a hero for these Venezuelan people, and you guys are funding her mother's expenses. So ICE officials, we are waiting. Please deport her and her family.
And listen.
All border crossers, all fake asylum seekers. We're waiting, guys. The war is right here with the invaders. A lot of Americans have been killed by... Not even the devil can handle me. SOB, she said. You know what? If you keep messing with me right now, I can end you. And then she continues, this is bad. This is why God punishes you. That's why you don't have a husband or kids.
Please hit the like button.
And I don't care what people say about me. All of you guys can lick my you-know-what, she's saying. All I care about right now is money. Yes, I'm glad and I'm thankful to God that I am living in a shelter. My son eats from here. I make money however I can right now.
I thought the shelters was
I'm
closed.
going to have surgery very soon.
Now you got to have surgery. We got to pay for that. Ain't that a bitch?
On the live stream, and they seem to be encouraging her to shake it for them. Or at least that's what it seems. And there she goes again. From the taxpayer-funded hotel room. Now, remember, this is the one from December. The one where she insulted Americans and called them freeloaders is the January live stream. But
Right, calling us freeloaders in this our country. We was born here. You wasn't, bitch.
check. Guess it was one big procedure for 4.
Well, she didn't have teeth, so her surgery was the teeth.
I was there yesterday with her, and this is Isabel with her 3 children in the hotel you guys are paying for. Again, in New York City. 2 boys and the migrant CEO. So she says, my mother had a hernia, or a couple of them, and they opened her up. I think they did 4 procedures on her, or I guess it was one big procedure for 4 types of hernias. I'm not sure
Damn.
if that's what she really means, but you're going to learn the language. I'm just here to sleep around. But again, I can't do it right now. But I've done it so many times.
I'm here to sleep around, for real.
Additionally, she states that the dentist was actually working on her teeth. And she says one seems to be doing good, but the other side is loose. So she will be going back to the dentist that you guys are paying for it to get corrected. So what do you think so far?
Get them the hell up out of here. That's what I think.
And Mr. Broke, you remember that criminal who is now in Venezuela, where they're live streaming together, and Mr. Broke is criticizing the migrant CEO for helping people first, sort of like throwing a little jab, like, oh, you know, you're copying my content, because his content now supposedly is to help people in Venezuela, right? And she's saying, I've done it here in New York for a long time.
Okay, that's enough of that. But now you get the picture of the scammers.
For a long time, she says.
You get the picture of the scammers. Not all of them. And that's why Trump gonna blow you up.
Is cracking down on cartels at sea. The U.S. is planning to deploy these 3 warships near Venezuela.
So the gloves are off, and President Trump
This
is
is
moving the
Cash
U.S.
Jordan.
military into position near Venezuela. And this comes just days after a $50 million reward was offered for the capture of that country's dictator, a man U.S. sources identify as the ringleader of an international criminal empire already waging war on U.S. soil until now.
The U.S. is deploying 4,000 additional troops to waters around Latin America. The Marines and sailors will be used to combat cartels, a focal point of President Donald Trump.
Right, money
The
low.
Trump administration also recently doubling to $50 million its reward for the arrest of Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro.
They continue to send into our country, Venezuela.
Maduro uses foreign terrorist organizations like TDA, Sinaloa, and Cartel of the Suns to bring violence into our country. He is one of
I agree, Reaper. I agree.
the largest.
I'm getting what I voted for.
DEA says 30 tons have been seized from Maduro and his criminal network, 7 tons tied directly to Maduro himself. And the Justice Department says that is just part of this investigation.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum reacted to the news, saying interventionism is not one of the ways to solve conflicts. Along with the troops, a nuclear-powered attack submarine.
She got a lot of nerve because she on the chopping block too. Them youth in Mexico stormed the palace yesterday because the cartel put her in power. Her day's number 2. She almost done. I mean, it was thousands of youth that stormed the palace yesterday. They was getting it in, protesting young people.
Several destroyers and more are also being deployed.
This says Trump is ready to use every element.
Thank you so much, Reaper. Thank you.
To stop Venezuela. But what nobody's talking about is how Venezuela, they're not just causing problems for America by doing things like opening their prisons and flooding our country with gang members.
Fact.
Oh no, in fact, they're also terrorizing their neighbors, like the peaceful nation of Guyana, which
Yes,
has a
they
representative government, free elections, and speaks English, revealing that this communist regime, which exports crime all over the civilized world, as we've seen recently with homegrown Venezuelan gangs like Tren de Aragua taking over apartments in places like Colorado, is up to no good while its own people live in poverty. And Venezuela's not exactly secret about their cartel connections. I mean, even our southern neighbor Mexico does a way better job hiding any supposed connections their government might have to the criminal underworld. But Venezuela, they don't care. It's out there for everyone to see. And it's well known that Venezuela's done everything it can to export those who do not want to make other countries better to places all over the world, especially America. And once you learn that some of these gang and cartel members are former Venezuelan military, it reveals that these aren't just thugs committing crime on our shores. They're actually a hostile foreign militia conducting an invasion funded by their government. And that brings us to the real reason the U.S. is taking things to the next level, moving a small handful of troops just offshore into Venezuelan waters for the first time. There's a conflict already taking place on U.S. soil, a conflict which allows Venezuela to profit while America is destabilized and harmed. And I'll give you one guess how the troops in that conflict got into America.
Leonardo, hace 8 años hoy. ¿De qué país vienes? Venezuela. ¿Para dónde vas aquí en los Estados Unidos? Arlington, Texas. ¿Qué país vienes? Venezuela. ¿Para dónde vas aquí en los Estados Unidos? ¿Dónde? Texas.
This is a massive I told you so moment. These guys have had 4 years to come here and set up shop. And when we look at these well-fed, healthy gang members, we're supposed to believe that they came from an impoverished country, which is starving and where there's no food. Or more frighteningly, these guys were fed by their government so that they could have the energy to come here and commit crime. But as you're about to see their bad acting, it's not just limited to our shores. And as the president of El Salvador points out in this tweet, these TDA gang members suddenly fall ill the very moment they get deported back to Venezuela. Yet they were healthy enough to leave that country and sneak in to America, where they act as operatives of the criminal empire the U.S. has now set its sights on getting rid of, with an armada of warships headed south right now with only one goal in mind.
Tonight, the Trump administration is cracking down on cartels at sea. A source briefed on the matter tells NBC News the U.S. is planning to deploy these 3 warships near Venezuela. President Trump focusing on the coasts after reducing illegal border crossings to record lows. The Trump administration also recently doubling to $50 million its reward for the arrest of Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, saying he violated U.S.
Look, this is a big problem.
I wish I knew where he was, cause I sure could use that little $50 million. You heard me? Mm-hmm. This is Trump. Trump said, early this morning on my orders, U.S. military forces conducted a strike against Trinidad narco-terrorists in the South Com area of responsibility. TDA is a designated foreign terrorist organization operating under the control of Maduro, responsible for mass murder, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, and acts of violence and terror across the United States and the Western Hemisphere. The strike occurred with the terrorists were at sea, but let me see if I'm going to start this over so you can, oh shoot, I'm going to have to wait. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? Oh shoot, I can't play the music, so hold on. Let me go back. Damn. I got to play it without. Hold on. Let me close this. I got to do it without the music. And I was trying to show you the strike. I wanted to start over. When he blew up the first boat. Here it go. That's the boat. With all the drugs. I think they got like 2 or 3 million worth of drugs. And that's it getting blowed up. Boom. It was blowed up. He ain't playing with the people. That's all I'm saying. Trump ain't playing. Mm-mm. All right, I'm trying to get these off.
They are there to fight in drug trafficking at all for 3 reasons. The main routes of drug trafficking are on the Pacific Ocean. I mean, they mistook the ocean. They went to the Caribbean and they had to go to the Pacific Ocean, first of all. Second, Venezuela is not a drug producer. We are free of cultivation. Venezuela is free of laboratories. We are not a drug processing country. And of course, it's true, we are part of the roots of drug trafficking. But if you take it in account the proportions, we are less than 5% of the drug traffic running around the world.
Now wait a minute. Wait. You just said you ain't part. Venezuela's not part of drug trafficking, but they in the route of drug trafficking, and they less than 5%. Which is it? You part of it or you not? Liar.
Want to fight drug trafficking? They should begin here. And not just with the drug cartels, also with the pharmaceutical corporations who sold legally drugs, Oxycontin, and the rest of them. Big corporations, rich people, tens of billions of dollars corporations killing thousands of young Americans every single year, 70,000 every single year. I studied this society. We know the big corporations selling drugs on the pharmacies, legally, not just the drug cartels. Why don't they gain by that? But we are also absolutely willing to cooperate, but to cooperate as we are doing with Colombia, as we are doing with any other country, which is not trying to bomb us.
Ooh, what he say? He said we willing to cooperate with any country like Colombia, like that, that's not trying to bomb us. You can't make this shit up. You can't make it up. You can't make it up. I had
every single one of them, older than 14 years old, is an enemy, alien enemy, and has to be expelled from this country. And they said that the head of this massive invasion against this country is our president, and is a fugitive. They said it themselves today, and had to be punished. And they put a $50 million reward for our president. It's clear what they are trying to say. It's a coup d'etat. It's what they said, what they did in 1990s in Panama, what they tried to do to Nicaragua, what they did in Iraq, what they did in Libya. It's a massive operation, propaganda operation, to justify what the experts call kinetic action, meaning military intervention in a country which is a sovereign and independent country and is no threat to anyone. We don't believe at all that they are there to fight in.
Well, it is going to be a coup d'etat, because I'm sure that the military want part of that $50 million. Shit, I would, because he's an awful leader.
Mr. Griffith is with us.
Now this is
to discuss the U.S.
Gary Griffith.
Venezuela tension. I think we can say that tension. The United States of America. We've been monitoring the situation, trying our best at least to monitor the situation. United States of America is saying that we want to tackle the drug cartel. We want to deal with what is happening in Southern Caribbean, and we are issued a deployment, large vessels, not jokey vessels, large vessels. And of course, while that is happening, our Prime Minister is saying that, our crime situation is at a particular place, and we would welcome any kind of support. But on the flip side, Venezuela is saying that, don't get caught up with this.
Okay, we need to get to Gary, because God,
try to get persons with some qualification or knowledge in the field, and then you decide for yourself. And it is the right of everyone to have their own personal view. The United States, we have seen for decades, the United States have been involved in such situations, and sometimes you will hear about all of these things, things like mass destruction and so forth, and it may not actually be authentic. I haven't said that is not in any way to justify that. That is what is happening now.
Okay, that don't work my nerves. Let me delete that. I can't take it. I'm too sleepy. No, I can't.
And now turning south.
Okay, I can understand.
Between the United States and Venezuela is reaching new heights. On Thursday, the Pentagon said 2 armed Venezuelan F-16 fighter jets flew close to a U.S. Navy guided missile destroyer in the southern Caribbean Sea. The Pentagon described the move as highly provocative and an attempt to disrupt Washington's ongoing counter-narcotics and counter-terrorism operations in the region. According to a U.S. defense official, the warship did not engage as the jets buzzed overhead. However, the Defense Department warned Caracas against any further escalation, declaring on X, the cartel running Venezuela is strongly advised to not pursue any further effort to obstruct, deter, or interfere. Now, the incident comes just 2 days after U.S. forces carried out a deadly strike on a speedboat in the Caribbean that Washington claimed was tied to Venezuela's Tren de Aragua gang.
Venezuela's been a very bad actor. They've been, as you know, they've been sending millions of people into our country, many of them Tren de Aragua, some of the worst gangs, some of the worst people anywhere in the world in terms of gangs. And we had some in Washington, D.C. We took care of them very quickly, but they're out of here. They've gone. But Venezuela's been very bad, both in terms of drugs and sending some of the worst criminals anywhere in the world into our country.
Caracas denounced the strike as an extrajudicial killing, accusing the United States of murdering civilians without process.
That's not funny.
Today, the imperialism is launching a new attack. It is not the first, nor will it be the last. It is just another attack, and Venezuela stands firm. And I say to you, Venezuela will continue standing with serenity, firmly and strong faith in victory and in peace.
Now, U.S. national security officials declared that military operations against cartels would continue, even as questions about the deadly strike on a vessel from Venezuela remains unanswered.
And it'll happen again. Maybe it's happening right now. I don't know. But the point is, the President of the United States is going to wage war on narco-terrorist organizations. This one was operating in international waters, headed towards the United States to flood our country with poison.
In remarks during a trip to Latin America, Secretary Rubio defended the new approach, speaking in Quito alongside
But he say it's
Ecuador's
gonna happen
minister,
again.
declared
I'm trying to get these old videos out of here. Oh, here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump has just made a very serious and very deadly promise, and so
This is Matt Morse TV.
Things are not looking good for Venezuelan president, really a dictator, Nicolas Maduro. Now, as you all know, President Trump has recently deployed 7 different naval warships, a nuclear submarine, and over 4,000 U.S. military personnel off of the coast of Venezuela. And as I'm sure you all recently saw, they even blew up one of Maduro's drug smuggling boats. And so really, President Trump has been sending a very strong message as of late. The drug smuggling is going to stop, the narco-terrorism is going to stop, and if you don't comply, we're just going to blow you up. Isn't so happy about this. In fact, in response to having
Pretty much though, that is what he said. That's what he said. Pretty much, we just gonna blow you up. Yeah, pretty much.
Over the top of some of our U.S. naval vessels that are parked off of the Venezuelan coast. However, as it would turn out, that was not a good idea. And the reason why is because just earlier today, we got the news that now President Trump is considering launching direct targeted strikes right on the Venezuelan mainland, aimed at taking out key narco-terrorist infrastructure. But now, as all of this has been unfolding over the last couple of days, you just know that the far-left progressives and all of the globalists are actually defending Maduro and condemning President Trump's decisive action against Maduro's narco-terrorism. In fact, the United Nations, the UN, even came out recently and tried to make the argument that Maduro isn't even involved in drug trafficking at all. However, Secretary of State Marco Rubio isn't having it. Take a look.
I don't care what the UN says. The UN doesn't know what they're talking about. Maduro is indicted by a grand jury in the Southern District of New York. That means the Southern District of New York presented the evidence to a grand jury, and a grand jury indicted him. And then a superseding indictment came out that was unsealed about 1.5 years ago that specifically detailed Maduro's actions. So number one, let there be no doubt, Nicolas Maduro is an indicted drug trafficker in the United States, and he's a fugitive of American justice.
And so, folks, as you can clearly see, with regards to the Trump administration is done playing games.
They ain't playing.
Too many American lives have been lost, and too much damage has been caused. And by the way, whatever happens next really does fall on Maduro's shoulders. Let's be...
Trump ain't playing.
Venezuela's President Maduro it claims that the U.S. is seeking a regime change with this naval buildup.
They are.
Former acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf joining me now. Are we really looking for regime change, Chad? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I don't believe we are, and I don't think
Yes, we
President
are.
Trump cares what Maduro says or doesn't say. This is about fighting the cartels. This is about fighting drug trafficking that continues to be, exported out of Venezuela and into the United States. And President Trump has made it very clear time and time again, not only with Venezuela, but with other countries in the region, that that is no longer going to be the case. And he's going to take direct action if needed to stop the deadly flow of fentanyl and other drugs into the United States, killing Americans every day. We've seen other administrations talk about this. We've seen other administrations continue to admire this problem. I think President Trump should take a lot of credit, should get a lot of credit for actually trying to do
He's
something to
taking
stop,
action.
what we see as deadly narcotics coming in.
But what kind of military action? This naval
He gonna blow it up.
powerful. They've got they've got a destroyer there. They've got missile systems. I mean, are they going to fire off against the cartels in Mexico or some other place?
Well, look, that's obviously up to President Trump and his national security team. But I do know that there are Coast Guard men and women on board of that, has law enforcement functions that can board vessels. And a lot of the vessels coming up from South America, Venezuela, and elsewhere are carrying those narcotics coming through the Caribbean to the United States. And there's obviously others. As the designation of a foreign terrorist organization, there's other authorities that the president now has to deal with, again, not only Venezuela, but other countries in the region that are continuing to export cartel violence and other drugs to the United States.
Would you mind if there were regime change?
Well, you put on, Venezuela put on notice. This is going to be a growing problem because I'm going to stay on this.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is warning his colleagues that the Trump administration is provoking a standoff by moving forward with the so-called pocket rescission plan. He writes this: "It is clear that Republicans are prioritizing chaos over governing, partisanship over partnership, and their own power over the American people." Joining me now is Texas Congressman Dan Crenshaw. Congressman, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for being here this morning. What's your reaction to Schumer and his comments about the Republicans going into this potential shutdown?
He needs to get his ass out of office. He needs to get his old ass out of office like Nancy Pelosi.
What he said. Look, but the appropriations process is it's the same dance every single year. There's going to be a lot of grandstanding. It's going to be a difficult negotiation. You need those 60 votes in the Senate. Neither party ever has 60 votes, so there always has to be some kind of compromise. And when there is no kind of compromise, we end up with a CR for the rest of the year. And there's a lot of drawbacks to that. We'd be operating still off effectively the same budget that was under Biden and Democrats. So I do think we want to get somewhere this time. Our goal as Republicans, as I think the speaker just mentioned on your clip there,
get to Maduro. Wait a minute.
Resolution at the end of the month?
President that means that more than this one. Our president now, President Trump.
So what do you know about this, Congressman? 11 alleged narco-terrorists were killed in that strike this week. You're leading a task force to combat Mexican drug cartels, right?
That's correct. I mean, well, I lead the work on the cartel issue. Yes, whether there's a task force is another question. But look, this is President Trump doing exactly what he said he was going to do. It's a massive escalation. I'll say that. I've never seen a case where we've actually targeted a drug running boat. Usually we try to interdict them. But you know what? Interdiction is costly. It's expensive. It's extremely difficult. And I think this is a very welcome escalation. It's in international water, so I find it ironic that the Maduro regime is calling this some kind of active war, while also claiming that he has nothing to do with drug running operations and the cartels. I'm sorry, but both things cannot be true at once. So remember, the charge from the Trump administration is that Maduro absolutely is in cahoots with the cartels, with Tren de Agua. So for him to be crying foul on this is sort of him showing his hand. But it's
and I remember as we were sending Trinidad Tobago gang members back, Maduro was right there greeting them. Have I been? Oh, shoot, I've been over. This is going to be my last one.
Welcome in, everyone. I hope you guys are doing
This
great.
is
Wherever you're
David.
watching from today, we have some big. Welcome in, everyone. I hope you guys are doing great wherever you're watching from today. We have some big breaking news, and that is Venezuelan fighter jets have targeted a U.S. Navy warship. We are going to get into the details of exactly what happened, how the United States is responding, the actual power of Venezuela's Air Force, and what this provocative measure might mean moving forward as the situation with Venezuela continues to escalate and escalate and escalate. It is a wild, wild time right now. And listen, I don't know what's going to happen. Every day we've got something new with Venezuela, and every single day it seems like Venezuela and the Trump administration, the United States of America, are on the war path. And at this point, it seems hard to believe that the Trump administration is not going to strike Venezuela directly at some point.
That's right.
But we're going to get into exactly what happened. I'm going to break it all down. Before we do, as always, please make sure to like and subscribe. Totally free, costs you absolutely nothing. It is a huge.
Okay, let me move past. This is going to be the last video. Oh, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I got to go to bed.
Shit. Venezuela with warships, at least one nuclear-powered submarine, thousands of Marines, thousands of cruise missiles are now within striking distance of Venezuela. As well as that, we have spy planes that are flying throughout the region. Beach landing exercises are underway. There are a ton of moving pieces here. On top of that, the Trump administration blew up a drug ship carrying 11 members of Tren de Aragua, which is a terrorist organization, a narco-terrorist organization declared as such by the United States government. They have pushed their poison, carnage, and chaos in the United States. We warned them to stop. They didn't stop, so we blew up one of their drug ships that was leaving Venezuela. They waited for it to get in international waters. And
right, Gary. Right.
Well, Venezuela's none too happy about that. Now they're buzzing our warships. Let me put this on the screen. So this comes from the New York Times. This has been reported by a bunch of different outlets. It's not just the New York Times. I know some of you reading this, and I got plenty of problems with the New York Times myself, but this is a well-documented event that has occurred. It says Venezuelan jets fly over U.S. Navy ship in show of force. The flyover took place 2 days after the United States carried out a military strike on a boat in the Caribbean that U.S. officials said was carrying drugs. So it says two armed, so these weren't unarmed planes. These planes had missiles, bombs, whatever. In theory, they could have launched on these ships. Two armed Venezuelan F-16 fighter jets flew over the U.S. Navy guided missile destroyer Jason Dunham in the Southern Caribbean Sea in a show of force on Thursday. A Defense Department official said it is the latest escalation of tensions between Trump and Maduro. The U.S. warship did not engage, the official said. In an apparent response, so listen to this. In an apparent response to the Venezuelan fighter jet flyover, the Pentagon ordered 10 F-35 jets to Puerto Rico as part of a larger counter-narcotics operation, the Defense Department official said.
Damn.
I'm really struggling with my words this morning. The deployment was previously reported by Reuters. The flyover, reported earlier by CBS News, took place 2 days after the United States carried out a deadly military strike on a Venezuelan boat in the Caribbean that U.S. officials said was carrying drugs. So we have scrambled. So two Venezuelan jets armed with lethal weapons buzzed a U.S. Navy warship. The U.S. Navy warship did not fire on them, did not shoot them down, probably should have, but we'll talk more about that later. And now, in response, the United States of America has deployed 10 F-35 stealth fighter jets to Puerto Rico.
Wow.
That will be used to provide air cover now for the Navy ships in the region off the coast of Venezuela. Trust me, and we're going to get into a breakdown of Venezuela.
Wow, sound like... Well, we know Venezuela ain't gonna win this. We know that. I think China says something about it. You know, they don't want to see the strikes. But, well, we know Venezuela ain't gonna see that. And I bet you it's gonna be a coup, because I, as poor as that, and the country is not poor. They got plenty of oil, but they got sanctions where they can't sell it. Listen. They want that $50 million. It's going to be a coup d'etat. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. I'm going to stay on this story because Trump is going to strike Venezuela. Like, share, subscribe. Hit that like button, y'all.